Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel, MD, General Physician. All my video lectures are mainly for educative purpose. Today we'll be talking on one of the very odd topic we call brucellosis. Very rarely you come across brucellosis, and particularly in India it is not very common disease, but you do see some of the time brucellosis in India. So brucellosis, or also called as Mediterranean fever, or also called as Malta fever. We know very well this is a zoonotic infection. Mainly it is in a cattle farms and animal groups. It is transmitted from animal to human being, and the second material which transmit is unpasteurized milk and milk products which are being consumed by human beings. We'll be talking in detail as we go through. Brucellosis is an important zoonotic disease which is sometimes seen in a human being. So it is a zoonotic infection caused by a bacteria of the genus Brucella. And there are 4 species which are known to infect human beings. The common second name for brucellosis is Mediterranean fever or Malta fever. It is worldwide distribution, but it is endemic in Mediterranean area, South Africa, Middle East, Central Asia, South Asia, China, Central and South America. You can see here the name of India is not given. Indirectly, it is not very common in India. It is the most common zoonotic disease in the world. It can affect any age group, right from children till old age group, all age groups. And both male and female are equally affected. There are many other names for brucellosis, like undulant fever, Malta fever, Gibraltar fever, Mediterranean fever, gastric fever, Bang disease, Maltese fever, rock fever, and also the another name given is Crimean fever. Out of this, the Malta fever and Mediterranean fever are the most common name utilized for brucellosis. As far as the bacteriology is concerned, it is a gram-negative cocci. They are called cocobacilli, and these bacilli are aerobic bacilli. They are non-motile, non-spore forming, and non-capsulative. Two common organisms in that, B. ovis and B. abortus. They require carbon dioxide supplement for their growth. So while doing a culture, you require a carbon dioxide supplement. The growth in a regular media is prolonged. There is a prolonged incubation period, almost more than 4 weeks. So for a culture, it requires a longer period. They are small cocobacilli, gram-negative, non-motile, aerobic, and they are non-capsulated, non-sporing organism. And strictly, they are the parasites of animal. There are 4 species, that is Bacillus abortus, Bacillus suis, Bacillus canis, and Bacillus melitanis, out of which the most common which you come across is Bacillus abortus, which involve cattle, and that can spread to human being. All 4 can spread to human being. The most common is being cattle. Then comes the other groups. So it is commonly transmitted from different animals, particularly cattle, goats, and pigs, most common. Also, it can be from dogs. Second common mode of transmission is by ingestion of unpasteurized dairy products. And third is exposure to contaminated body fluids, particularly the area where the animals are butchered in that area. So, direct or indirect contact with an infected animal. It is very common in butchers because they come in contact with body fluids. Veterinarians person and veterinarian doctors. The another common area where they can come in contact is laboratory workers who are doing cultures, etc., who are doing laboratory investigation. We have already told you unpasteurized milk or milk products, because for pasteurization it should be heated to 60 degree for minimum 10 minutes. Man to man transmission is usually not possible. So it is not transmitted from one man to another human being. There are some people who are at very high risk. Dairy farmers, veterinarian person, veterinarian doctors, person who are working in veterinarian hospitals, etc. Aptorial workers, meat inspectors, lab workers, hunters, travelers, and person who consume unpasteurized dairy products, milk and milk products. So ingestion of a raw milk or unpasteurized dairy products, undercooked milk, occasionally inhalation and inoculation, particularly placenta or uterine discharge, blood and urine. This can also transmit. Person to person transmission is not possible. It is very, very rare. By and large, the portal of entry is the oral entry. It is by ingestion of a contaminated animal products, raw milk, unpasteurized milk, and its products. Once in a while, contact with the contaminated fingers also. Aerosol is not common, but still it is one of the mode. Inhalation of bacteria and contamination of conjunctiva by those bacteria. Percutaneous infection to the skin, abrasion, or by accidental inoculation is rare. It is very common in a person who are working in a butcher's factories, where they kill the animal and they can come in contact with the blood and other fluids of contaminated animals. Consumption of unpasteurized beverages and foods is the most common risk factor for acquiring a brucellosis. From animal who are, when exposed to the animal tissue fluids or to a milk products which is unpasteurized, it will enter into blood, macrophages will take, and it will be drained by lymphatics and lymph nodes. Incubation period is 2 to 4 weeks, but can be sometime in months also. Once it is phagocytized after an entry in the body, then it can be stored in bone marrow, lymph nodes, spleen, and liver. All this we call as reticuloendothelial system. So it is picked up by macrophages. They survive and multiply in lymphatics. They will multiply in the local lymph nodes, and then via hematogenous spread, it will involve reticuloendothelial system, particularly liver, spleen, bone marrow, cardiovascular system, brain, and other organs, say like liver, lungs, etc. And they will form small granulomas, which is consisting of epithelial cells, polymorphs, lymphocytes, and giant cells. This is a common involvement. So the most common organ which are being involved is liver, spleen, lymph nodes. These are the most common. And another common is bone marrow, and then comes cardiovascular, CNS, lung, liver, etc. Incubation period is roughly 1 to 3 weeks and it can be as long as months. Can affect any organ, but the most common organ affected is RE system organ, that is liver, spleen, bone marrow are the most common organ which are being affected, and comes lymph nodes. Person will start having fever which may be intermittent or undulant fever, and fever can persist for few months to as long as years also. Good number of time it is misdiagnosed and it presents as PU. Depending upon the duration, you can classify them into acute and chronic. Here you can see the figure. If the duration is less than 1 year, we usually call that as acute. And if it is more than 1 year, it is classified as chronic. Low cases for fatality rate mostly is due to infective endocarditis. So once it involves the infective endocarditis, endocardium is involved, it may have a high fatality rate. Some person classify less than 3 months as acute, between 3 to 12 months as subacute, and more than 1 year as chronic. Basically, brucellosis is a disease of reticuloendothelial system, and we already told you incubation period can be few weeks to several months. That is called as a classical triad, that is night fever, arthralgia, and hepatosplenomegaly. Indirectly, if someone comes to you with a night fever for long duration, relapses, severe joint pain, and there is a hepatosplenomegaly, do suspect brucellosis. And this already we have told you, there are different name given: Malta fever, Mediterranean fever, undulant nocturnal fever, typhoid like fever, etc. These are the different names which are being utilized. So person will have a fever, night sweats, malaise, anorexia, arthralgia is a common presentation, fatigue, weight loss is another common presentation, and person can have even depression because of prolonged fever. Usually the onset may be insidious or abrupt. The common presentation is influenza like fever. It may go up to 40 degrees centigrade, or we call 104 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. The person will have a very common pain, that is arthralgic pain, back pain, joint pain. Sweating will be common, fatigue, anorexia, weakness, and loss of weight and depression. Headache is another common symptoms. And on laboratory parameters, leukocyte count may be normal, or you might have a pancytopenia. Particularly, there will be relative lymphocytosis and there will be leukopenia. And person invariably will have a splenomegaly, hepatomegaly, and lymphadenopathy. Usually they are diagnosed as a fever of unknown origin. There is one peculiar thing which is being described, that night sweat will be moldy odor, very peculiar odor, and person will invariably have malaise and weight loss. We have already told you another common symptoms which are there is headache, severe joint pains, abdominal pain, dyspepsia, cough, depression, hepatosplenomegaly, and lymphadenopathy. You can get a big lymphadenopathy and you can have a hepatosplenomegaly. RE system being commonly involved, you will have a splenomegaly, lymphadenopathy, and hepatomegaly, very common. Once in a while, it can involve genital organs, that is orchitis and epididymitis. When both are involved together, we call epididymoorchitis. In female, it can end up with abortion. Once in a while, person can present as septicemia. There is something called a suspected case, probable case, and confirmed case. A suspected case is a person who has got fever with acute onset, high grade fever, either insidious or an acute onset. Good number of time it is also described as an undulant fever, that is fever period followed by afebrile, that is almost like Pale Epstein type of fever. And whenever there is a febrile fever with continuous increase in the febrile period and decrease in the afebrile period, continuous chronic fever in a chronic variety, person might have a minimal fever of localized type, or person presents as an FUO. Very commonly you will get an history that person has got a typical occupational history where he is a high risk group, particularly he is working with a farming industry, that is cattle farm industries or pig industries, etc. He is in contact with the animals. And person will have a clinical features like toxemia, profuse sweating, bony aches, particularly backache, joint pains, lymphadenopathy, hepatosplenomegaly, big joint arthropathy, or orchitis. This, if these are the presentation, you call that as a suspected case. Now, in this suspected case, if you do Brucella antigen test, short form it is called BAT, and if it is positive, it is called probable case. And if in this probable case, if you do a blood culture and blood culture is positive, then you call that as a confirmed case. Or if there is a rising titer of Brucella agglutination test, then also it is called as a confirmed test. So this is the way you try to first suspect, do a Brucella and agglutination test. If it is positive, you call that as a probable. Go for a blood culture, or if there is a rising titer, it is confirmed case. So diagnosis is done by clinical features, Brucella agglutination test, culture. Now even they are doing what is called polymerase chain reaction for confirmation of Brucella. So history, physical examination, typical fever, blood culture, and agglutination test. These are the four pillars for diagnosis of brucellosis. There is something called as a prozone phenomena. Initially, antibody is in excess, antigen are less. There is a zone of equivalence where both are equal, and then person goes into a zone where the antigen becomes more, antibody are less. These are the three zones which are being described, that is called prozone phenomena. There are different types of tests which are being done. There is something called as a 2-ME test. It is called Mercaptan ethanol test, ELISA test. You can detect in an acute infection IgM level will be high, and in a chronic infection you will have a IgG level being high. So in a chronic brucellosis you will detect high level of IgG. During acute infection you will detect high level of IgM. Diagnosis in human beings is mainly being done by culture, and culture you get from blood or from bone marrow or from tissue fluids. These are the three common spots from where you can get it, and blood culture will be positive in about 50 to 70% of the person who are suspected cases. Bone marrow culture is a standard criteria since it is the reticuloendothelial system, and it will be sensitivity will be 80 to 90%. So by and large the blood and bone marrow culture are the most common which are being utilized for confirmation of diagnosis. PCR is another test. It is a rapid and accurate method for diagnosis of Brucella species. CBC gives you a suspicion, hence it is a non-specific, where you get a leukopenia, you get lymphocytosis, and you get anemia. and there is a moderate elevation of ESR. So this gives you a suspicion. So lymphocytosis with leukopenia and anemia you should suspect. So culture is a main call as a gold standard, where you use blood or a bone marrow as the most common material. In a serology, we have already told you that agglutination test. As far as the treatment part is concerned, in a non-pregnant patient, doxycycline is most commonly being utilized with rifampicin or with Septra. In older times, it was combined with gentamicin and Septra. During pregnancy, doxycycline and gentamicin is not commonly utilized. During pregnancy, rifampicin with Septra is commonly being utilized. As far as we have already told you, blood culture, and blood culture is very commonly done in a Castaneda method, where you use liquid or solid trypticate soya agar media. Serum agglutination test is a gold standard. Culture is another gold standard, but it is to be done blood culture or bone marrow culture. Another test which was being done, now it is almost outdated, is called as a Brucellin hypersensitivity test. It is an intradermal test used for chronic brucellosis. Already we have mentioned that tetracycline or doxycycline with streptomycin is a common treatment in a non-pregnant woman and other individuals. WHO recommends rifampicin and doxycycline combination. Prophylaxis should be there in an animal by vaccinating the animals. Prevention is mainly done by a protective wears which should be utilized, the facial mask, hand gloves, etc. should be utilized, and milk products should be pasteurized. So this should be done. In animal, milk ring test is commonly being utilized. Rose Bengal card test is being utilized, and agglutination test is being utilized. In male, usually epididymoarthritis is the most common cause of fertility, and in female, particularly in a pregnant female, they can have a spontaneous abortion. Treatment of choice, we already told you, doxycycline in a non-pregnant woman with combination with streptomycin or rifampicin, and it should be given for minimum 6 weeks. If there is a CNS involvement, it has to be extended for 6 to 9 months. And in case of endocarditis also, it is extended for 6 to 9 months, and you might require a surgical intervention like valve replacement. So in adult and children, any children more than 8 years, doxycycline should be given 100 milligram BID and rifampicin right from 600 to 900 milligram. Roughly we say that it should be 15 milligram per kilogram per day. Doxycycline with streptomycin, if streptomycin is used, 1 gram intramuscular daily for 2 to 3 weeks. These are all the different permutation combinations which are being advised by WHO. Prevention, we have already told you, protective wears, hand gloves, facial mask, etc. A good education should be done regarding the transmission of infection to the farmers, veterinarians, abattoir workers, butchers, etc. Proper wear should be there when they are dealing with the infected animal and tissue, like gloves, masks, goggles, etc. And avoid consumption of a raw dairy products. All dairy products, milk and milk products should be pasteurized. immunization of animals should be done, and live bacterial vaccine, that is against B. abortus and B. melioidosis, is available. At present, no human vaccine is available. Prognosis, usually it is easily curable with very low rate of relapse and chronicity. About 5% of the treated case can go into relapse, but by and large the relapse is because of failure to complete the treatment regime. Commonest complication what you can come across is because of joint involvement, that is arthritis. You can have septic arthritis, reactive arthritis, in which you can get spine involvement, spondylitis, sacroiliitis, you can get osteomyelitis. As far as genitourinary tract is concerned, epididymoarthritis, urethritis, liver, hepatitis, liver abscess. Eye involvement is concerned, not common, but still you can get conjunctivitis and keratitis. And as far as blood picture is concerned, pancytopenia. Ideally, we say that anemia with leukopenia, but there is a mild lymphocytosis. And you can have a granuloma in an involved organs. So I end my lecture here. I thank you all for taking out time. I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate you for spending some of the time with me. I think this topic is very odd, but once in a while you can come across a person with brucellosis mainly presenting in the form of a PUO. If you have got this picture in your mind, you can suspect, and once you suspect, you will go for agglutination test, and then you can go for culture for confirmation, or you can go for agglutination titer. If they are elevated, it is again confirming the diagnosis, and by a good proper full course of treatment can cure the disease. If you feel this topic is useful to you, please press the button subscribe and press the like button. So see you in next lecture.